So today marks a very important chapter in our playthrough here, because today we're going to gain access to unbreakable tools that do require power. Now yes, you heard me right. Powah. And we are going to need quite a bit of it and a way to actually charge the tools that we have on ourselves. And there's a couple of ways to do that, and Powah is probably one of the most powerful ways to do it in this pack. And Powah is going to be fantastic, not only for transporting power from one location to another and also wirelessly, it also can generate said power. Now, the tools that we're going to be making is due to us going to the end and defeating the dragon. And yes, we took down the dragon last episode, so if you did miss that, definitely check it out. We basically expanded all of our Ars gear and made ourselves incredibly powerful, and also made a destructive bow that I'm so scared of having in my inventory that I'm going to keep it in my backpack until I need it, because I don't want to accidentally blow up my base. Now, typically I don't want to get into Powah until I have auto crafting set up with Applied Energistics, but I'm kind of prolonging the auto crafting setup because it does take quite a bit to get that whole infrastructure up and running. And I really feel like I need power before I really do that. So today we are going to be getting that set up, and it's going to require quite a bit of crafting. But we should have all of the tools and utilities available to do this, including all the blaze and coal due to our quarry, our mob farm, and also just our ability to just vein mine clay. So first things first, a ton of dielectric paste. It's probably best to just craft a bunch of this, and we are going to need a ton. And thanks to our Drigme farm for producing all of the blaze rods for us, this is going to make this task fairly easy, so we don't have to use lava buckets, which is a kind of an annoying way of doing it, but works really good with auto crafting. With the dielectric paste, I'm going to be making quite a bit of these iron rods, and I'm going to make a couple of stacks of the vertical rods and horizontal rods. These are going to be necessary for making all the dielectric casings that we are going to need for all of our future endeavors in this mod. Now come with me into the quest book, and well, we get some things to pick here, which is actually going to be very helpful to me, where I don't have to craft these. For example, this two energizing rods right here. I think this is one of the best things to pick out of this entire list, simply because this is kind of a pain to craft. So these right here, we now have them. They're good to go. It saves us quite a bit, and it puts us immediately at the hardened tier for our energizing orb, which I just crafted. Now, we are going to be bypassing a lot of these quests, and like I had mentioned in the previous episode, the way the quests are formatted, they are linear. And I recommend, if you haven't done this already, go into your edit mode. Of course, if you're not on a server, and if you're in a single player world or you running your own server, you can edit your main quest line and you can set the progression mode to flexible. And the reason why you would want to do this is so that way, if you, for example, craft let's say you craft a reactor before you craft a blank card, it's going to still go ahead and check mark here that you have completed that. So it is a very nice thing to have on here. And just something I recommend in a quest book like this, because otherwise you're going to have to go back and recraft something or make sure you have it, especially on these tiered items like you see here. Also in the quest, it looks like it gives us a manual and a wrench, and yeah, we're going to need the wrench as well. Kind of. You would need the wrench if you wanted to relink things. It also has some other cool modes, but for the most part, we need it to potentially link or unlink or relink things to the energizing orb. Specifically, when I say things, these hardened rods that we just got through our quest, which, by the way, look at the recipe for these. Yeah, like I said, they are kind of one of the more tedious things to craft, but it just gave it to us. So yeah, I will definitely take advantage of that. Speaking of taking advantage of it, I think what we should do is maybe run a cable from one of these windmills to maybe power this. And you know what? I think this right here is a pretty good space. I'm going to go ahead and place down the energizing orb, and this should link just by connecting it like so. And these should be linked up to it. We can't see it until we have the wrench in our hand and we put it in linking mode. And once we have it in linking mode, you can now see the lasers are connected here. And this is going to supply power to the energizing orb to be able to power our things. And we can do all of this stuff by hand, but there's a little bit of redstone logic behind this This can emit redstone signals based off the items that are inside, so you can use comparator signals on it. You can input into all sides except for the bottom of this, and you can also hopper out of the bottom, and it will not automatically pull the products you put in. It's going to only pull out the things that are a finished product. But something I will mention about the energizing orb that you do need to keep in mind is you can overfill it with a hopper, unfortunately. So if something requires like 2 blaze rods to craft the item, and you insert like 4 into the hopper, it's going to put all 4 in here and it's going to stop the craft. So you do have to make sure to regulate, that's an important word, regulate the amount of items that go into it. And this is a pretty important concept for how you actually automate this energizing orb. But for right now, we don't really need to worry about automation. Just keep the word regulate in your head because it is very important for many things. I am looking at you, regulator augment from modular routers and laser IO counting filter. Okay, so I've gone over kind of the ropes, right? And this immediately you're hit with this first problem that we have to solve when powering things. We need to make hardened steel, or sorry, not hardened steel, energized steel. And the way we do this is with 1 iron and 1 gold, and it costs a little bit of power that is going to be consumed from the pipes that the rods are connected to. So pretty interesting, right? Well, if we put this directly in here, 1, and then we put this one in, it's going to work, and it produces it. But if we right-click this, and we right-click, 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 notice I'm going to keep adding items, and it's not actually processing. So if I do want to automate this, I guess we really should look into how to do that. Now, last time I showed off how to automate this was my last series, and I had used laser IO to actually automate this. And it's fairly easy to do with laser IO, but in this series, I actually want to show you how to do it with modular routers, because you can also do it with this mod, and it's fairly easy to do as well. So essentially, we just need to send the ingredients in here and place the 2 ingredients inside of these 2 modular routers separately. For example, gold goes in here and iron will go in this one. So how do we regulate with this mod? Well, to do that, we need these regulator augments. And these actually augment the actual modules themselves. So in this case, a sender module is just simply going to send whatever you put into the buffer into the side that you have it defined as. So this is just going to send the items into the buffer, and it's going to send it right into here. Now, this is a problem because it's just going to send all of the items. Notice it's going to constantly send those items in, and we need to actually prevent it from doing that. And the way we do that is by opening this up and putting an augment in here. And then we get a number over here. This is going to tell the this module, this sender, how many things to send over there. And so it would be best kind of set up if you actually had a whitelist filter to tell it specifically keep, for example, gold or however many items you have in here. But I think we don't have to define anything at the moment. We just want to say only send 1 item and keep it in its inventory that it's going to be going to. So once we have that defined, we can go ahead and put this back in right here. So I have it in this one, right? So we put this back in here. And then if I put this in, you should see now it only sent 1 item. It's only holding 1 item in there. So this is a very easy way of actually doing this. And we can do the same thing for this one. Set the face, put the augment in, set it to 1. And now it's going to only keep 1 item in. And so that puts the iron in, completes, and then it's going to constantly restock this based on the items we have in here. And this is going to be very handy for not just this, but just for semi-automation as of right now, before we get applied energistics up and running. This is a great way to automate, for example, energized steel and also blaze and all of the other materials that we have in here. Except for nitro, which does take quite a bit more and would require more modular routers. Now, I will say it looks like the rewards for the Powah stuff is actually really nice. Oh my goodness. We just got a thermo generator niotic from this as a random reward for the energized steel. That is actually fantastic, as this generates 400 FE per tick just by setting on, and it can generate more than that, by the way. This is just from it, I believe, setting on top of like a lava and then you pumping water into it. So I guess now for the other part, right? And we can use these same modular routers. We don't even have to change anything. I just put blaze rods in here, and that's going to take a little bit longer to power, but it's going to produce blazing crystals, which I still need. And we can also make these thermo generators even better by putting a block of blazing crystal underneath. And this is where I was saying that base value that says generates 400 FE per tick isn't actually a constant, because that can be changed by modifying the heat sources. And technically you could, if the pack devs wanted to add custom fluids, they could add custom coolants that also do different things. But in our case, we just simply need to provide it with water. So how are we going to get water? That is another challenge, because the sink does not produce infinite water in this pack. So now I've been cooking something up as far as water goes. Now there's a couple of ways we can get water that's fairly easy in this pack. It's not too bad at all. We have, if you look up water, we have, let's see, the drawer. There's a new drawer upgrade that just generates water from functional storage. This requires us to have steel, which we do have, and also the urn of endless waters, which we already have kind of everything we need to craft this as well. The steel plates we can actually get by, it looks like, handcrafting to large steel plates from steel, which we can make from a simple forge hammer and having ourselves a hammer in here. This also is another very easy method of doing this, which just dabbles a little bit in modern industrialization. Not anything crazy there. But I was looking through the list here. We also have AE. AE is another way. This right here is a little bit expensive, but it would honestly probably be done better with just regular paint, the planes from AE, like the Annihilation planes, to be able to pull the water in from an actual source of water. And there's a couple of other ways. You have the water condenser. This one's actually pretty fast at generating, but it requires us to get into the plastic from pneumatic craft. But it also looks like, yeah, it looks like we can also get it from industrial foregoing dry rubber. That's really nice as well. So all of these ways, but I have another interesting ways. We're getting all of these extra backpacks. Why not put the backpacks to use to generate water? And you may be thinking, wait, you can do that? And for that, I present to you a method of generating water that is kind of interesting and happens in world. So let's grab some stone real quick, and we are going to fill out the bottom of this just like so, so that way I can make an infinite source of water. Yes, your standard infinite source, right? Which is going to look just like this. Very nice. So we have a slot that will be here and here. It's going to go behind this. Very nice. And we can place our source block of water there, our source block of water there, and this creates an infinite source of water. Well, our backpack can actually utilize this infinite source of water by being waterlogged inside of that infinite source. But how does the backpack interact with the water? Well, you can do this with literally just a regular iron backpack. You just need 2 slots. And you're going to need that for a tank upgrade and a pump upgrade. And believe it or not, these 2 upgrades, the tank and the pump, will allow it to pull water into an inventory. So the pump upgrade in its own right can interact with blocks around the backpack. When I put this in here, it's going to start pulling the water from the source and filling the backpack with water. And yes, you are not seeing things. This is actually happening and is fantastic. So now that I have that, I can go ahead and use my blazing block of crystal, and let's test out this thermo generator. I'm going to go ahead and place the block of crystal here, place the thermo on top of it, and we just need to get a pipe from something like, for example, the pipes mod, or we can use Mekanism, I think, for a pipe. Let's see, they do have the Mekanism pipes here. That looks really good, actually. And yeah, we should be able to connect straight into this, just like so. And let's see, we're going to need a configurator, is one of the better things to make. And we just shift right click on here and set that to pull, and that should pull it out. And this should start generating energy. And it is generating 400. Maybe that is the max generation rate based on that blazing being underneath it. Huh. That is pretty cool though. I mean, that's just free 400 FE per tick. It's just free energy. Now the cool thing to think about is just this scaled up. Just think about having more than one of these, right? And we'll notice that it's not really consuming water all that quickly. So this could sustain quite a few of these generators just off of a very simple pump upgrade that costs like absolutely nothing. And well, you're also going to be utilizing all of those trash backpacks that you probably have laying around. Because yeah, who knew sophisticated backpacks could be so sophisticated? Now it is pretty nice that I didn't have to craft any more of those, but there's still a lot more that I really want to do. For example, I want some energy cells, and I also want to be able to use some gates. These are kind of wireless power transfer from power that is being sent, for example, into an ender cell. Making ender cells are pretty straightforward, and it's going to allow us, for example, to not only send, but also receive power wirelessly. So we can have an ender cell set up somewhere else and use these to send power to it and from it. Now, thankfully, the ender cells themselves, they just require an ender core, and it looks like you can start them at whatever tier that you currently have the materials for. So I could technically make a niotic tier version of it that allows a max input and export of 100,000 FE per tick, which is pretty good. Now, where the expensive part starts to come into play is the actual energy cell that needs to be inserted into it. Now, you can either go the energy cell route, or I believe you can also do batteries, and I think batteries are a little bit cheaper as far as resources go. But you still need to craft all of the capacitors and stuff for the batteries. But these also will increase the buffer or the internal power storage that the actual ender cell is going to have. Keep in mind, ender cell and energy cell, I know they both start with E, but they can be easily confused. But they are two separate things. An ender cell is the wireless part of the Powah mod, and the energy cell is kind of like a battery that stores power. Now, interestingly enough, from the quest, it is giving us quite a few things. I wonder, do we need like 9 of those? We'll get another boost if we do those. It doesn't actually take too long. So we just need 5 more of the diamonds, and we might actually get more batteries because if I go ahead and craft this, let's go ahead and do Powah, right? And how I mentioned the battery goes in here. Let's make the cell. You know what? I actually need to wait, right? Because I'm going to need to wait for us to build up 9 of these. We could potentially get another one from here. And voila, there's the 9. That should complete that quest. Give me some good. And, oh, it gave me another thermal. You know what? I can't complain. And it gave me also a blazing. That's very nice, right? Oh, wait, no, it gave me blazing. You know what? I'll take the blazing capacitors for that. But still, all right. So now that we have this, let's go ahead and make ourselves the niotic cell. And so this on its own isn't going to be that amazing, but what we can do with it is we can shift right click that battery in here, and you can see now it can hold 10 million FE just from that one battery that we got. That is so nice to get. And yeah, it's just saved me a lot of crafting essentially. But so now that we have that power and we have this, we just need to get power from here to here. And that's where these gates kind of come into play. And they are going to be linked to this. So think of this ender cell. You can have multiple ender cells throughout your world. They all have these different channels, and you can have them all linked to different channels. By default, we're working with just one channel right now. It does get a little bit more advanced if you go into more channels. But for the base channel, all of these are just going to be base set to that channel. And so even if we went to the starter version, this is like the lowest tier that you can go. It is going to be able to support the power input of this thing right here, which is only generating 400. So by putting this on here, this is already going to start charging this up. And now the cool thing is we can also use the power that's in here by placing it on something that needs power. For example, this can be powered now by us placing this gate on here. However, we are limited by that 500 FE per tick. But keep in mind that we can use, for example, all the way up to these ender gates because the 200 FE per tick would start to kind of cap out our 100 that we have to work with here at our transfer rate. You got to keep those transfer rates in mind, because if you have too many of the blazings, like for example, if you have 5 of these on something that's actually drawing that 20,000, it would after that then start to be pulling too much, and the buffer would start to drain, and then it would run out. So something to keep in mind in the transfer rates. By that point though, we'll probably already have this upgraded, and it does go up to like 2 million FE per tick, and I believe that's per channel. Now, courtesy of those blazing capacitors that we got, well, we can make some of this cable and just immediately make these nice 20k ender gates. And that means I can place a gate here that's going to send and receive power when need be. We can place one on this setup. All the way over here, we can also place one on our battery that is receiving power, and even cross-dimensionally receive power, because these do work cross-dimensionally so long as the area is chunk loaded. On the side config here, we want to make sure that that is set to output, in which it is. So all that power that's being generated here can be used in output to keep our buffer charged. Oh, that is so good. So now it's time for the real power of Powah, and that is going to be player charging. We can actually wirelessly and cross-dimensionally charge ourselves and the tools and things that we have in our inventory. For this, we're going to need to get started with an aerial pearl, and the aerial pearl is what we need to use to create the player transmitter. So the player transmitter allows us to send power to ourselves at certain rates. And of course, all the tiered stuff just essentially increases its input and output rate. We really just need to be worried about our output rate. I don't think we're going to be charging things or charging our network from within our inventory, but we need to be charging tools that are in our inventory. So I'm thinking anywhere up to, for example, blazing would be a good idea. But we can actually limit ourselves. We can just go with the starter. 1000 FE per tick is pretty darn quick. And I would not complain at all just having this basic tier up and running, and just kind of prove a point at how powerful just 1000 FE per tick charging our stuff is. Now this aerial pearl is kind of important because, well, that's what's used in the crafting recipe. And so what I'm going to need to do is find a zombie, and I'm going to basically steal a zombie's existence. That's like the best way to put it, right? We should have some zombies that are spawning in these dark areas. 100% there should be some. Looks like we got some skellies, some endermen. No zombies. Well, I'll find one in a minute for sure. Look at that. And wouldn't you know it, a zombie literally floating. You know what? I'm going to save this zombie's life by right-clicking it. And there we go. So now we have that stored inside of the aerial pearl. And we can actually use this to power ourselves. Oh, it's gonna be so good. I just gotta get this crafted up. There's our basic tier 1 version of this. I think going at least to basic is gonna be a much better idea, and we just can upgrade these at any time. So if this is not gonna be enough, 4K is not gonna be enough, then we can always upgrade to the hardened version, and we can upgrade to the blaze and so on and so forth as we continue on through this mod. Now, does it need power? Yes. So we can place it, for example, right next to this, right on top of this. You know, I'm going to move this up so I can place it right there. It does look like it takes up like 2 block space. So yes, it's going to go, for example, right on top of here. And it is getting power directly through our ender cell, which is very nice. But there's a card slot here, and this is something we actually need to worry about. So let's make a blank card, and this is how we're going to link it to ourselves. So right here, we right click this to bind it to ourself, and you can see our player name, and that goes into this card slot. And then that'll start to charge anything that has power that's in our inventory, and it will charge it up. So how do we make this cross-dimensional? Actually, we just have to take this card and we have to right click it on an enderman, essentially. And now I think I know where some endermen would be lurking, right? They'd be lurking probably in the end. So we should probably head to the end real quick, scoot on over here, and just right click them. And that is going to consume an enderman. And now we will have cross-dimensional charging. Okay, so we are now set up. This is actually kind of insane. The power gains that we've just reached at the moment is quite substantial, in my opinion. Like, we definitely went from like power level, I don't know, 2000 to now like power level 2.5 thousand. Yeah, 2500, something like that. But we are leveling up for sure. And we're going to put this in here, and now we can charge. But we don't have anything to charge yet. So let's actually now switch gears, and we should now have access to the new goo type from Just Dire Things. So this is the goo that we've been using. It's the Blaze Bloom goo. It's been very, very fantastic for us. But it's time to upgrade this goo to Void Shimmer Glue. Yes, Void Shimmer Goo. And we should be able, I keep saying should because, well, yes, I don't know, but this is all kind of new to me. But this right here is the block. And it uses chorus. for its operations, or ender pearls to ignite it. That's pretty nice. That's its kind of food that it needs. Okay, and then as far as what we actually place around it, I do believe, yes, it is diamond blocks that we then surround to make our next tier of tool. So this is gonna be kind of interesting. I am going to need a bunch of diamonds, and believe it or not, we should have quite a few diamonds, and they all have been producing over here still with our digital miner. It has been going at it, and we have 606 diamonds stored in here, and I can always focus specific things, not just all ores. I could always just focus diamonds specifically, and that would also grant us a ton of diamonds. But this is honestly a huge quantity of diamonds that we have generated from the digital miner. So with all of that, let's make some blocks, and this will give us access to a new tool tier type. So all of our tools, by the way, we can actually directly upgrade, I believe, into the new tier by simply adding the template to it. And so the template, though, does cost a bit more. I think with Just Dire Things, let's take a look. So we have the Blaze one, and then we have this tier. Yes. So to be able to make this template, it's going to cost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 gems to keep it, but it's going to be super worth it having the template here. Because I want to be able to keep like my enchants and stuff like that. And as much as I hate to say it, let's go ahead and let's goo it up, because that's what we're doing right now. Oh goodness, we're gonna be gooing it up for sure. Okay, we need fruit, chorus fruit, right? Chorus fruit, and we right click that initiates it, and then we just need to surround it with diamond blocks. And then watch the process happen. Well, actually not. We actually have to have shaders off in order to see all of it in action. So if I disable the shaders, we can then watch the magic happen. Oh, it's honestly one of my favorite effects. I love watching this happen. It looks so cool. I mean, even with shaders off, I really wish this worked with shaders on. That'd be so neat to see. But man, that's pretty darn cool. Watching it just completely get absorbed and consumed, and then eventually converted. And it is now almost ready to go, and it should break. And there it goes. By the way, I still don't think fortune actually matters, even though we do have fortune here. As far as I know, that still isn't something that really affects it. And there we go. So perfect. We end up getting a little bit more than 3 per, which is very nice because we had 6 blocks that we placed down. So I'm going to continue to make a bit more of this so that we have all of the stuff for the new advanced machines that we just got access to. So now with all of those resources prepped up, I now have a few of the Celestigems, I do believe. And one of the first things I think I want to use these on, right, is upgrading our wand. So I should be able to use Blaze Gold, my current wand, and I can make a Void Shift wand. And this basically gives us does it give us a new ability? So we have Lava Repair and Air Burst. Now we're going to have Air Burst and Void Shift. Void Shift is going to be a new ability. And notice, by the way, it is charged in our inventory. Oh, whoa. Okay. So the Void Shift, it looks where we're at, and it shows a player model of us. And then we teleport to that location. Okay, that's interesting. But we still have Air Burst, so I can turn this off. And there we go. Now I can use Air Burst. But there's even cooler mechanics that we can do. So if you shift right click this, I believe, shift right click, we can actually define hotkeys for each of these different abilities. And we don't even have to be hovering over it. Like, we don't have to have it selected in our hotbar to even use it, which is another really cool thing. So I can still use this, by the way, but now I can just hold right click and I can just fly all over the place, and it's just using our power, right? Oh, that is so nice to just be able to fly all over the place. Oh, just by holding the button down and instantly watching it recharge. Oh, that is so good. The Void Shift also seems very interesting. I don't even know how I would use that. But still, that's not even the point, right? That's not the point right now. The point is the fact that we now have an unbreakable Void Shift 1 that just essentially runs out of power. And we don't have to worry about going and repairing it in lava anymore. And this also is going to go for all of our tools. Now back to our smithing template, we should be able to use this smithing template here to upgrade, for example, our pickaxe like so. And it should keep all of our enchants and stuff. And it should also keep the upgrades, I believe, that we had. By pulling this over, let's see, we have auto smelter. Actually, I think it's just because it's disabled, right? Yeah, it keeps all of our upgrades and everything. So we still have ore miner and we also have ore smelter. Very nice. And we also unlock the a few more things, right? We have a drop teleporter and we also now have the ore scanner, which we had the ore scanner before. I just didn't make the upgrade because I think we were missing something at the time. Now, as much as I love the idea of having our blocks teleported with our celestial gem pickaxe now, I don't think I really want this, but I do want the ore scanner to be in here. So let's go ahead and apply the ore scanner. Very nice. And now that we have this enabled, I can actually show you how cool this is. So if we go to the ore scanner mode, by right clicking, it's going to now scan for ores, but now we don't have to worry about durability. So I can just effectively use this where I please, which is very nice. So let's break down in here and I'll blaze jet all the way down to the bottom. To avoid fall damage. It's kind of interesting that this works this way. But now I can show this off. I can right click and now it's going to highlight where ores are. So we're able to see this. Now, the next tier of pickaxe is where the ore scanner is kind of powerful, insanely powerful in my opinion. It's basically X-ray. It's just like old school cheaty X-ray. And not even like the cheap X-ray either. It like literally displays the outside bounds of the, it projects basically the ore like in your face through everything. It's too good. But we won't be getting that for a little bit. Now, I do want to use this teleporter for another tool that at this tier, I will say is going to be quite nice. And that is to upgrade our hoe. And actually, I think for the hoe, it is cheaper for us to just craft a new hoe. We didn't even have any enchants on it or anything. So yeah, I think I'm just going to craft a new tier here of the hoe. But this does have the ability to teleport items. You can see right here, it has the drop teleporter. So that's where this, I think, comes into play. Because our prior tier, I didn't get into it too much, but it can grow your crop and then harvest them. But the items get dropped on the ground and you have to have a collector to pick them up. Well, in this case, now we don't. So if I apply this teleport here, we can actually have a crop, for example, this right here, with mage blooms on it. And we can have a barrel. And let's just assume that any crop that we have on this is going to get teleported to this barrel. So we shift right click the barrel, and that now has linked the location of that barrel to our hoe here. And I should be able to now break this and this. And we can do this to a full scale crop, by the way. And I can now convert this into a special type of soil. And then I can use the Mage Bloom seed here to place on here. And when this fully grows, which it also will accelerate the growth, by the way, when it fully grows, it will then, its drops be teleported into this barrel, and that's where it'll be contained. It's honestly insane. This is a fantastic tool for auto farming stuff, and we're probably going to be using it in a bit larger of a scale in the future. So I've also crafted up the axe. I went ahead and just made new ones of these. It's not a huge deal. Now, I do have the upgrades inside of here, and a good way to get the upgrades out is to honestly just break the tool. So just go ahead and break a bunch of trees until this thing fully runs out of durability. Whenever it shatters, it actually drops the upgrades on them. So it is a interesting way of getting the upgrades out, because outside of that, I'm not quite sure how you would get them out. But something cool that I did see in here, there's a Paxel, but it doesn't make it super clear how you actually craft the Paxel. But the way you do it is place your pickaxe as the first thing in the slot here inside of the smithing table. Make sure that pickaxe is the first thing there. And then you put the other tools in, and together this will then craft this tool. Now, I am noticing that when I do this craft, that my upgrades that are in here don't look like they transition fully over. We have the ore miner and ore scanner, but the enchants, unfortunately, do not look like they carry over. So it is something to keep in mind, but honestly, re-enchanting something like this is going to be quite amazing. This is going to be a very nice tool, considering it can break all of this. Oh, wow. And it looks like it has an innate 5x5 radius that it breaks. Oh goodness, that needs to be turned off right now. And you know what? I can't complain. The first enchant was Fortune 3, Efficiency 4, and Unbreaking. And I think I have another Efficiency 4 book in here. So yeah, very, very nice. It looks like his enchantability is also raised. Now, in my opinion, today was a pretty crazy episode. Not only did we get access to unbreakable tools, we also now have a way of pumping water that has been kind of nerfed-ish in this pack. And we also now have wireless player charging, which makes just flying around absolutely ridiculous. I love every minute of it. But judging by some of the crafting recipes that we're going to be getting into, for example, if I want to make any of the advanced machines, well, we're going to need either an ultimate tier installer, a basic hull machine, or a basic machine hull from Modern Industrialization, or an Industrial 4 going hull or a machine frame. All of those things, in my opinion, really need automation to make it satisfying to get. So I think that's what we're going to be diving into in the next few episodes, is kind of setting up our automation with Applied Energistics. And now that we have some power and the ability to scale up our power, it's going to get even better. And I think the automation is definitely going to make this pack open up quite a bit, in my opinion. So if you guys did enjoy today's episode and you learned something new, be sure to click that subscribe button if you haven't already. And well, give this video a huge thumbs up. And of course, it's now time to thank the amazing supporter of today's episode. And that amazing thanks is going to go out to Hope Harrison. Believe it or not, it says that. It's a Braille font. It is what it is. But thank you so much for your amazing support and choosing to support me over on the Discord by becoming a Discord premium member and supporting in one of the best ways possible. Thank you all so much. I appreciate everything that you guys do. I look forward to seeing you in the comment sections down below and or over on Twitch at twitch.tv/ChosenArchitect. And with that, I'll see you in the next one. And as always, thanks for watching. Bye.